Here we go again. Another remake of an old classic horror/thriller film. But let me say, right off the bat, that I had not seen the original to this film before going into the remake. So I went into the theater with a clear mind, an unbiased view, a clean slate, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy this film. That being said, I still didn't enjoy this movie. Before I get into that, let me explain a little bit of the plot to this film. We are given this fairly typical suburban family who has this house out in the woods, their summer home, and their daughter decides to go into town with one of her friends. They meet this boy who invites them back to his motel room, and as they're hanging out for a bit, his family comes back in. Now, we have found out earlier in the film that this is a family of mass murderers, and the father in this family is a recent escapee from prison, and his face has been all over the news and in the newspapers, blah de blah. So the father is, of course, really upset that his son has brought back these two girls to the motel room, and that these girls have now seen their faces, so of course they have to take these girls out into the woods and kill them so they don't tell the police. So they get out to the woods, and the girls try to escape, and in doing so, they wreck their car. Of course, that just makes the family more upset, and they decide to brutally torture and kill these girls. However, one of the girls, who happens to be the daughter, manages to escape and is shot while she is escaping, and the family believes that she's dead. So the family now needs a place to stay for the night. But of course, they can't get back into town because their car is wrecked. So they decide to stay at the nearest house they can find, which just happens to be the house of the daughter's family. A couple hours later, the mother and father hear this slight knocking, on the back porch, and they go out there to find their daughter, who's, bleeding everywhere, and she's been shot a couple times. And they quickly find out that this family that's staying in their house are the ones who brutally tortured and tried to murder their daughter. So, not only will they try to escape the house, but they're going to exact revenge in doing so. And the plot continues from there. Getting back to why I didn't really enjoy this film. When they take these two young girls into the woods and decide to torture them and kill them, not only do they brutally torture them and try to murder them, but they also rape them. Now, I would never make light of a topic such as rape. Rape is never funny, unless, of course, you're raping a clown. So, these two girls are brutally raped by this family. So at that point, you really do feel for these characters, these two girls and this family who eventually they will get back to. You really want this family to exact revenge on these four people. However, it's the way that the family does it that really, really upsets me. You hit such a high emotional pitch by seeing that original rape scene, and then the film in the second half becomes a blood splatter comedy fest. Why do you do that? You have such poignant emotionality and just gut-wrenching feelings with that initial torture and rape scene with these two girls, and then you decide to just up the blood level and just decide to turn this into a splatter flick? Why would you do that? All you've done is just downgraded the significance of rape. It waters down that scene, because now the audience has completely forgotten about that scene and is now just enjoying blood being flown everywhere. And trust me, this family finds every possible way to kill these people. They use the railing, they use the garbage disposal, they use dishwater, they use anything they can find in the house. And at that point, people in the audience were laughing. And it made you almost forget what this family was fighting over. Their daughter has been tortured and raped and shot. But the audience doesn't care about that now. Because now, oh, we're just enjoying a good old splatter flick. We're watching, like Hostel or Saw or, Nightmare on Elm Street or some shit, I'm expecting that little puppet from Saw to come wheeling out of the corner somewhere. Oh, what are you crazy people doing, What's going on here? So, my problem with this film isn't really about the acting or the directing or even the cinematography or anything like that. My real problem with this film, I guess, would just be the screenplay or the writers, that they would take such a horrific thing as rape and then turn around and make this film into a joke. So, if this film had set out to be just a somewhat comedic blood splatter revenge film, I wouldn't have really had a problem with that. If the film had set out to set an emotional high pitch and to see this family get their revenge, but not necessarily have it be all about the blood and the gore and how many ways can we figure out how to kill this person now, I've been fine with that too. But combining the two is really, really weird, and I didn't enjoy that. So, final rating. I really don't want to give this film a bad rating because the cast and the majority of the plot is good. But the way they set about telling the story of this film really does upset me. The fact that you take a serious topic like rape and then turn around and put as much blood as you can on the screen. I do not want to condone that. So I am going to give this movie 2 stars. I would highly recommend you go out and rent this film if you really want to see it. However, if you are absolutely starved to see this remake, go ahead and check it out at a low matinee, but nothing more than that. I would simply recommend that you watch this as a rental. But let me ask this before I leave you all. If this is the last house on the left, what's going on in the last house on the right? I mean, is that where the little puppet from Saw lives in there, and he's just watching these people, you know, kill each other off in this house? Damn, these people are messed up. You know, like, what's going on over there? So, take care.